I had been working late into the night, catching up on tasks I had neglected. The office had mostly emptied out by 6, but I had remained, drowning in spreadsheets and reports. My multiple absences had put me behind, and I had no choice but to recover the lost time. Finally, at 10 o'clock, I finished my work. I let out a sigh of exhaustion and stretched my stiff limbs before heading to my boss's office to request permission to leave. He barely looked up from his desk, waved a hand dismissively, and muttered, "Go home." I stepped outside the building towards my car. The parking lot was nearly empty, my car one of the few still there. I tossed my bag into the back seat and slid into the driver's seat, rubbing my temples as fatigue weighed heavy on me. The drive home would take nearly 2 hours, and I was already struggling to keep my eyes open. As I started the car and pulled onto the road, I knew I wouldn't make it all the way without stopping. About 30 minutes into the drive, I spotted a small gas station up ahead. It wasn't much, just a single pump and a tiny convenience store with a dimly lit sign. I decided to pull in and take a short break. Parking near the store, I stepped out, stretching my legs before heading toward a small guest room attached to the building. The door was locked from the inside. Someone must have been sleeping in there. Annoyed but too tired to care, I turned back toward my car. As I reached for the door handle, something caught my eye. The window of the guest room. A man stood behind the glass, staring at me. His face was barely visible in the weak light, but I could see his lips moving. He was calling me, motioning for me to come closer. There was something off about him. I pretended not to notice, quickly getting back into my car. As I started the engine and pulled onto the road, I forced myself not to look back. The highway stretched ahead, dark and empty. My exhaustion deepened, and I rolled down the window, hoping the cold air would keep me awake. The memory of the man at the gas station lingered in my mind, but I pushed it aside. I just needed to get home. Then out of nowhere, a figure appeared in the middle of the road. And before I could regain control, I veered off the road, skidding into the trees. The engine sputtered and died. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel, heart pounding. I looked around, scanning the road. The woman, I had seen a woman. Where was she? I stepped out of the car, shivering slightly as I checked the road and the surrounding woods. Nothing. No one. The air was still, almost unnaturally so. I swallowed hard, trying to calm myself. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe my exhaustion was playing tricks on me. I returned to my car, trying to start it. Nothing. I tried again. Still nothing. Panic began to creep in. After several more attempts, the engine roared back to life. I let out a relieved breath, shifting the car back onto the road. As I drove, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The woman, if she had been real, had vanished too quickly. And then there was the man at the gas station. What if? No. I pushed the thoughts away. I just needed to get home. By the time I pulled into my driveway, it was nearly midnight. The house was dark except for the porch light. My wife was waiting for me, arms crossed, concern evident on her face. I stepped inside, wrapping my arms around her in a half-hearted hug before heading straight to the kitchen for water. She followed me, her expression troubled. "What happened? You're acting strange." "Nothing," I muttered. "Just tired." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes, the way her brows furrowed, the way her lips parted as if searching for the right words. I couldn't bring myself to explain. I didn't even know how. Instead, I turned away and moved toward the bedroom, my legs heavy with exhaustion. She followed close behind, her footsteps hesitant. I knew my face must have looked pale, shaken, because she reached out to touch my arm, her grip tight with worry. But I didn't stop. I peeled off my jacket, tossing it onto the chair, and collapsed onto the bed. She lingered in the doorway for a moment before finally lying down beside me. The weight of sleep pressed down on me instantly, pulling me into darkness before I could say another word. Around midnight, as I was sleeping, I heard a distant knock at the door. I sat up abruptly, lungs drawing in a sharp breath. The bedroom was steeped in darkness, the only sound the rhythmic breathing of my wife beside me. A knock echoed through the house. Slow, deliberate. I turned to the clock. 3 a.m. My pulse quickened as I slid out of bed, careful not to wake her. The hallway felt impossibly long as I made my way to the front door, my steps careful, controlled. I peered through the peephole. I saw the same woman standing outside. I stumbled back, the weight of exhaustion and fear pressing against my ribs. My mind scrambled for logic. Had I imagined her on the road? Had she followed me? I turned on my heel and rushed to the bedroom, locking the door behind me. The click of the lock jolted my wife awake. "What's going on?" Her voice was thick with sleep. I hesitated. "Someone's outside." She pushed herself upright, alarm creeping into her features. "Who?" I swallowed, my throat dry. "The woman from the road." She reached for her phone, dialing the police without another word. The silence in the room was thick, broken only by the faint hum of the call ringing. Then she let out a sharp gasp. My head whipped toward her. She was staring past me, her gaze locked on the bedroom window. "She's in the backyard." I forced myself to look. The woman stood there, her arms extended, her body shifting in strange jerking motions, twisting, spinning. The movements were both familiar and deeply wrong. I recognized the dance, an old Serbian folk ritual I had seen in grainy videos online. The realization made my stomach lurch. A sound interrupted the grotesque display. Another knock, this time from the back door. The sudden wail of sirens shattered the moment. Red and blue lights flickered against the walls. I turned back to the yard. She was gone. The police combed the property, finding nothing. Nothing except for one small, impossible detail. Footprints on the back seat of my car. The officer's face was unreadable as he looked at me. "She was with you the whole drive home." A lead weight settled in my stomach. My wife clutched my hand, her fingers ice cold. We said nothing. There was nothing to say. Some things are better left unspoken, and some things never truly leave. Hi friends, my channel is stuck, and I need your help. Please watch my full videos, like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends to unfreeze it. Your support means everything and will help me bring you more chilling stories. I was alone in the house that night, preparing for my board exams. My parents had left earlier in the morning for a business trip, insisting that I come along, but I refused. There was too much to study, and I needed the peace and quiet. The house felt emptier without them, but I didn't mind. I spread my books across the table, determined to make the most of the solitude. Hours passed, and my focus started to wane. I decided to take a break and turned on the TV. I meant to put on a movie, but the news channel appeared first. A serious-looking anchor spoke in a grave tone. Reports have emerged of a strange woman seen dancing in the streets late at night. Witnesses claim she appears in different parts of the city, always alone, moving unnaturally. Authorities warn citizens to stay indoors after 10 p.m. and lock all doors and windows. Anyone who has seen her claims they feel watched afterward. It sounded ridiculous, but something about the way the anchor spoke made it feel real. I grabbed my phone and checked the time, 9:45 p.m. I hurried downstairs, double-checking every door and window. I locked the main gate and pulled the curtains shut. Satisfied, I went back to the living room and resumed my movie, though I kept glancing at the clock. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was my mother. I picked up and her voice came through, laced with concern. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Did you hear the news?" "I'm fine, Mom," I reassured her. "I locked everything." "Good. Stay in your room and don't open the door for anyone. We'll call you again in the morning." My father's voice came next, echoing the same warning. When the call ended, I turned off the TV and climbed the stairs to my bedroom. Just as I reached the top, the power cut out. The house was plunged into complete darkness. At the same time, I heard rain start to fall outside. I switched on my phone's flashlight, grateful that the battery was still full. Moving carefully, I made my way to my room and locked the door. A few minutes later, the lights flickered back on, but the rain had grown heavier. Lying in bed, I tried to sleep, but my mind was restless. I kept thinking about the news. The idea of some strange woman dancing outside people's homes felt unsettling. I turned on my side, staring at the closed door. I sighed and sat up. Maybe if I worked a little more, I'd feel tired enough to sleep. I decided to go downstairs and grab my laptop. Unlocking my bedroom door, I stepped into the hallway. The house was quiet except for the sound of rain against the windows. As I descended the stairs, I noticed something strange. The kitchen light was on. I distinctly remembered turning off all the lights before going upstairs. My stomach tightened. Standing at the foot of the stairs, I peered towards the kitchen. The light switch was next to the fridge, and I couldn't see anyone there. I hesitated for a moment before quickly grabbing my laptop from the table and hurrying back to my room. I locked the door again and sat on the bed, my heart racing. I tried to push the thought aside. Maybe the light had been on all along, and I just didn't notice. To distract myself, I opened my laptop. The screen's glow was comforting. I started browsing, trying to shake off the unease. That was when I heard it, a loud bang from the living room. My whole body stiffened. The sound was deep and heavy, like someone had slammed a door or knocked something over. I waited, holding my breath, hoping it was my imagination. Then, another noise, a rustling sound, followed by a faint tapping. It was coming from the backyard. Moving cautiously, I stood up and approached my window. Peering through the glass, I could see the backyard clearly under the dim streetlights. And then, I saw her. A woman in a white dress stood in the yard, moving slowly. Her arms were stretched outward, her head tilted to the side. Her movements were rhythmic, almost hypnotic. She was dancing. A sharp, icy fear gripped me. She was real. The news wasn't just some urban legend. She was here, outside my house. Then, her head turned. I gasped and stumbled backward. She was looking at me. Her expression was empty, but there was something unnatural about her eyes. I forced myself to move. The backyard door was open. I had to lock it before she got in. Bolting down the stairs, I reached the back door and slammed it shut, turning the lock as fast as I could. As soon as I did, a chilling sound filled the air. She was banging on the door. Each strike was forceful, relentless. I backed away, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I fumbled for my phone and dialed the police. My hands were shaking so badly that I nearly dropped it. "A woman is trying to break into my house," I blurted out as soon as the operator answered. I gave them my address, my voice shaking. "We're sending officers now," the dispatcher assured me. "Stay inside, lock yourself in a room." The call ended, but the banging continued. Then suddenly, silence. I strained to listen, my pulse pounding in my ears. Then I heard it, the soft creak of the back door opening. My stomach dropped. She was inside the house. I turned and ran upstairs, locking myself in my bedroom. My mind was racing. The doors were locked. How did she get in? Was there another way? A new sound filled the air. Slow, deliberate footsteps. They were coming up the stairs. I held my breath, gripping my phone tightly. Then she reached my door. A loud, heavy bang echoed through the room. The wood shook under the force. She was trying to break in. I couldn't stay here. The door wouldn't hold forever. My only option was the window. I unlatched it and looked down. It was a long drop, but there was no other way. As another deafening bang shook the door, I climbed onto the ledge and jumped. Pain shot up my leg as I hit the ground. I must have twisted my ankle, but I didn't stop. I ran across the yard, limping, and reached my neighbor's house. I banged on their door, screaming for help. After what felt like forever, the porch light flicked on, and an old man opened the door. I stumbled inside, gasping for breath. "What's wrong?" he asked, alarmed. Before I could answer, sirens blared in the distance. The police arrived within minutes. They searched my house, but the woman was gone. The backyard door was wide open, and the lock was broken. My bedroom door had been smashed to pieces, like multiple people had forced it open. The officers looked disturbed but had no explanation. One of them pulled me aside. "Are you sure it was just one person?" he asked. "The damage suggests more than one attacker." I didn't answer. I couldn't. That was the last night I ever stayed home alone. Even years later, I sometimes wake up to the memory of that rhythmic, haunting dance. And every time I see a woman standing alone at night, a part of me still wonders, was it really over?